There's a certain kind of quiet magic in holding a perfect wooden sphere. That weight in your palm, the seamless curve, the living warmth of the grain, it feels simple, yet incredibly deep. But the path from a raw, splintered block to that flawless form is a patient art. It's a slow dance between precision, respect for the material, and a steady hand. So let's step into the workshop together and trace the meticulous journey of turning wood into a perfect sphere. Every great sphere begins with the right wood. Turners often lean towards hardwoods like maple, walnut, or cherry, prized for their tight grain and strength. The process starts by cutting the timber down, squaring it off into a rough cube to remove the major flaws. This blank then finds its place, mounted securely between the centers of a lathe. And here, where the first big transformation happens. As the lathe spins to life, the turner guides a roughing gouge into the wood, shearing away the corners to reveal a crude cylinder. But the real artistry begins next. Switching to a skew chisel or a dedicated round-nose tool, the craftsperson starts to coax that cylinder into a rounded shape. It's a stage of rhythm and feel, patiently removing slivers of wood until, from the blur of the spin, a basic sphere begins to emerge. This brings us to the first great puzzle of sphere making. You see, the lathe can only hold the work at two opposite points. Think of them as the north and south poles. While it shapes most of the ball, it inevitably leaves behind two small, flattened areas called pips, or tenons, right where it's gripping. To achieve a truly uninterrupted curve, the sphere has to be let go. And this is where a turner's cleverness truly shines. This is the moment for ingenious jigs and fixtures. Master turners might use a clever cup chuck or a so-called donut chuck, devices designed to cradle the sphere gently but firmly around its middle, its newly finished equator. Once resecured in this new orientation, those last two flat spots are carefully turned away. It's a moment of quiet triumph when the geometry finally becomes perfect and complete. With the perfect shape achieved, the pursuit of the perfect surface begins. Sanding is its own form of meditation. You start with a coarse grit to erase all the tool marks, then embark on a methodical pilgrimage through progressively finer papers, from 80 grit to 120 to 220, and on to 400 and beyond. Each successive pass washes away the scratches of the last, until the wood feels like cool silk under your fingertips. And as you sand, something beautiful happens. The true soul of the wood, its hidden chatoyance and grain, starts to wake up and reveal itself layer by layer. Then comes the final act of revelation, the finish. Whether it's a wipe of linseed oil, a coat of shellac, or a spray of lacquer, this step does more than protect. It awakens. The once muted grain drinks in the finish and suddenly sings with depth, color, and a luminous, three-dimensional life. In this moment, the sphere transcends being just a shape. It becomes an object with a story, a captured piece of sunlight and history. So what have we really been doing here? More than just a woodworking project, making a wooden sphere is a lesson in geometry, patience, and vision. It's about seeing the perfect form waiting inside an imperfect block and having the reverence to set it free. It reminds us that with the right tools, a steady hand, and a bit of respect, we can create objects of timeless and simple beauty. It's not just about the ball. It's about the quiet focus in the workshop, the whisper of a sharp tool meeting wood, and that profound, humble satisfaction of creating something perfectly, beautifully round. Have you ever tried your hand at wood turning or creating something perfectly spherical? What's your favorite type of wood to work with? Share your stories and questions down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this peaceful journey into the world of craft, please give this video a like and subscribe for more explorations into the art of making things by hand. Thanks so much for watching. We live in a world of straight lines and sharp corners, but there's something that pulls at us about a sphere. It has no edge, no start, no finish. In nature, it's a planet, a dewdrop, an apple. And in the quiet of a workshop, it becomes one of the truest tests of a maker's skill. This journey, turning rough timber into a perfect wooden sphere, is where hard physics meets quiet philosophy. And that journey doesn't actually start at the lathe. It begins right here, with choice and intention. You need wood that's sound all the way through, free of hidden faults. It's cut generous and oversized, a blank that respects the natural path of the grain. Shaping it into that first rough octagon or cube is like making a promise to the geometry that's about to emerge. Then comes the awakening. The lathe breathes motion into the still block. A roughing gouge meets the wood, confidently tamming corners into a cylinder. This is the loud, declarative phase. But as the form starts to swell toward roundness, the relationship changes. The tool shifts to a bowl gouge or a dedicated sphere cutter, and the touch becomes a dialogue, a gentle conversation following a perfect curve held only in the turner's mind. This is the moment of truth. Out come the calipers, not because the eye is untrustworthy, but because the hand needs to know. A whisper too much off, and you lose that essential, balanced sphereness. And here we meet the elegant puzzle at the heart of it all. The lathe, for all its power, is a machine of 2 points. It holds the work at the poles. So when the curve is nearly perfect, these 2 small pips remain, the final signatures of the machine's grip. Removing them without a single flaw is the craft's final, delicate hurdle. This is where ingenuity takes the lead. Every turner has their method, an elegant cup chuck lined with soft cork, a clever ball saver system, or even a brilliant jig fashioned from workshop scraps. The goal is singular, to hold this fragile, complete shape with absolute security yet feather-light pressure, presenting those last 2 blemishes. Then, with a breath held and the lightest touch imaginable, the finishing cut is made. The pips vanish. And for the first time, the sphere exists in space, truly and completely free. Now you have the form, but the surface tells the story of how it was made. Sanding is the great reconciler. This is a patient pilgrimage. You begin with a coarse grit to level the landscape, then journey through finer and finer papers, from 80 to 120 to 220, 400, 600, and beyond. Each pass doesn't just smooth. It refines the very cells of the wood, burnishing the grain, preparing it to hold light. The dust turns to powder, the sound fades to a whisper, until the surface feels like cool, polished stone, yet radiates a living warmth. Then comes the revelation. The finish, oil, wax, or shellac, isn't just a coating, it's a dawn breaking. It's the moment every hidden story in the wood leaps to the surface, every year of growth, every subtle shift in color, every secret fleck and ray. The sphere is transformed. It's no longer just wood. It's the life of a tree, captured now in a perfect, tactile form. So what is it we've made? A simple toy? A piece for a game? A work of art? Perhaps it's all of these. In its completion, the wooden sphere stands as a beautiful paradox. It is the pinnacle of human technical control, yet it breathes with a serene, natural simplicity. It's where our precise geometry marries the wild, organic story of the tree, and they find a perfect, harmonious piece. The maker is left with more than an object. They carry the memory of the process itself, the scent of fresh-cut heartwood, the unspooling ribbon of a shaving, the focused silence that drowns out the world. For a moment, they held perfection in the cup of their hand. It seems a humble thing, a simple wooden ball, but within its continuous curve, it holds an entire universe, the journey from chaotic, raw potential to silent, elegant order. It reminds us that perfection is rarely found. It's shaped, it's revealed, or, as we say here in the shop, it's turned. I'd love to know what you think. What's the most satisfying thing you've ever made with your hands? Is there a wood you've dreamed of working with? Let's have a chat down in the comments. If this journey from rough stock to refined beauty gave you a moment of peace or sparked your curiosity, if you appreciate the work of the hand and the eye, please do give this video a like. And consider subscribing to join me for more deep dives into the quiet, rewarding world of making things. Thank you, truly, for spending this time with me. Subscribe for more.